By the end of next summer, President Joe Biden has promised to return to normal life in the United States. In a statement issued on Tuesday, Biden promised to make the vaccine available to 300 million people in the United States by the end of the summer.
I'd like to update you on the aggressive steps we're taking to meet our goal of administering 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots within 100 days, and to ramp up the vaccine supply as fast as we can. This will be one of the most difficult operational challenges we've ever undertaken as a nation. I've said that before, but I must say it again because we're going to do everything we can to get it done. But a lot of things can go wrong along the way. And so, as I've said in the past, we want to give credit to everyone involved in this vaccine effort, and the prior administration and the science community and the medical sphere. Getting the program, I didn't do it, I promise, for getting the program off the ground. And that credit is absolutely due. But it's also no secret that we have recently discovered in the final days of the transition, and it wasn't until the final days we got the kind of cooperation we needed, that once we arrived, the vaccine program is in worse shape than we anticipated or expected. A lot of you follow this, and nobody is, I mean this sincerely, the press is the smartest group of people in town. You hone this stuff down clearly. I think you found the same thing. Even before I took office, I announced a new vaccination strategy, which centers on federal leadership and execution for our whole country. And that's why I directed my COVID team to go to work immediately on how we could step up the vaccination effort and the vaccinations. I'm pleased to announce the first progress in that work today on day 7 of my presidency. First, after review of the current vaccine supply and manufacturing plans, I can announce that we will increase overall weekly vaccination distributions to states, tribes, and territories from 8.6 million doses to a minimum of 10 million doses. Starting next week, that's an increase of 1.4 million doses per week. And you all know, if I may note parenthetically, you all know that the vaccines are distributed to states based on population. They're based on population. And so the smaller the state, the less vaccine, the bigger the state, the more they get. And so this is going to allow millions of more Americans to get vaccinated sooner than previously anticipated. We got a long way to go, though. The second thing, we're increasing the transparency with states, cities, and tribes and local partners when it comes to the vaccine supply. This is something we've heard over and over again from both Democrats and Republicans, state and local leaders, that they need a plan in order to they need to know what they have to plan on. They need to know what the order is going to be. From this week forward, God willing, we'll ensure that states, tribes, and territories will now always have a reliable 3-week forecast and what the supply they're going to get. So they'll know 3 weeks ahead of time what's going to be there in the 3rd week. This is going to help make sure governors, mayors, and local leaders have greater certainty around supply so they can carry out their plans to vaccinate as many people as possible. These 2 steps are going to help increase our prospects of hitting or exceeding, God willing, the ambitious goal of 100 million shots in 100 days. But I also want to be clear, 100 million shots in 100 days is not the end point. It's just the start. We're not stopping there. The end goal is to beat COVID-19. And the way we do that is to get more people vaccinated, which means we have to be ready after we hit the ground, after we hit the goal of 100 million shots in 100 days. Now that means fewer than 100 million people getting totally vaccinated. It means 100 shots. And it means somewhere between 60, maybe less, maybe more million people will have because it requires 2 shots in many cases, not always. So today I'm directing COVID-19 response coordinator Jeff Zients here to work with the Department of Health and Human Services to increase our total supply of vaccine for the American people. And we believe that we'll soon be able to confirm the purchase of an additional 100 million doses for each of the 2 FDA-authorized vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna. That's 100 million more doses of Pfizer and 100 million more doses of Moderna. 200 million more doses than the federal government had previously secured. Not in hand yet, but ordered. We expect these additional 200 million doses to be delivered this summer. And some of it will come begin to come in early summer, but by the midsummer that this vaccine will be there. And the order, and that increases the total vaccine order in the United States by 50%, from 400 million order to 600 million. This is enough vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans by end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we want to make, look, I want to repeat, it'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans to beat this pandemic, 300 million Americans. And this is an aggregate plan that doesn't leave anything on the table or anything to chance, as we've seen happen in the past year. I've said before, this is a wartime effort. When I say that, people ask, wartime? I say, yeah, more than 400,000 Americans have already died. I think it's 411 or 12 have died in 1 year of this pandemic. And we're using the Defense Production Act to launch full-scale wartime effort to address the supply shortages we inherited from the previous administration. We're going to be working across the government with private industry to ramp up production of vaccine, the protective equipment, the syringes, the needles, the gloves, the swabs, the mask, everything is needed to protect, test, vaccinate, and take care of our people. And by the end of the summer, that you have too much vaccine left over. You have too much equipment left over. That's not my worry. I hope that becomes the problem, rather than we somehow find interruptions in supply or access. But the brutal truth is, it's going to take months before we can get the majority of Americans vaccinated. Months. In the next few months, masks, not vaccines, are the best defense against COVID-19. Experts say that wearing masks from now on just until April would save 50,000 lives who otherwise will pass away if we don't wear these masks. That's why I'm asking the American people to mask up for the first 100 days. I've issued executive orders requiring masks on federal property and interstate travel, trains and planes and buses. The American Rescue Plan to provide funding.
According to CNN, Biden has been busy for the past 6 days since taking office, especially in coordinating the state, local and federal administrations to deal with COVID. But it is also true that there has been so much incoherence under the Trump administration since the beginning of the corona epidemic that it is difficult to get it back on track very quickly. Announcing the purchase of another 200 million doses of the corona vaccine on Tuesday, Biden said, "I want to make it clear to the nation that aid is coming to the nation." Meanwhile, New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo has expressed satisfaction with Biden's various initiatives against corona. "Now you have a federal government that is qualified and professional, telling the truth," he told CNN. Not only Cuomo, but also the governors of the states are being reassured by Biden's move. Meanwhile, White House coronavirus coordinator Jeffrey Zients has assured that efforts will be made to announce the number of vaccines in each state 3 weeks in advance. At the same time, the number of staff in this supply and distribution work will also be increased. The supply of vaccines at the state level will be increased by 16% from next week. There can be no greater message of hope for the authorities in the states that are struggling with the corona vaccination program. Doing this in the end will be a great achievement for the Joe Biden administration, which will also make things much easier. Bongshai News, New York.